All right, so welcome everyone to our Oils for Dudes class. I'm excited that you're here, and I'm excited to hear from these guys today. I actually haven't heard, everybody's stories, so it's going to be fun to hear from people tonight. So we all love our oils. We love the toxin-free products that Young Living provides for us and for our families. We use them on ourselves, on our kids, our families, our friends, our pets, and our men. So tonight you're going to get to hear from four super cool guys, Yelka, Wade, John Mark, and Jonathan here. So when families get started with Young Living, not all guys respond the same way. Some jump right in and love the oils. Some start off more cautiously or skeptical. Others aren't interested at all, and some even mock and tease their wives or significant others. So I'm not sure where your guy may fall into that array of responses, but I hope that you get some good value from tonight, and maybe some insight into where your man might be at, and maybe some good information to share with them. And if they're here, awesome, thank you so much for joining us. And if they're not able to, just show them this video sometime. So these guys are going to share their Young Living stories, some of their experiences, and just like our Young Living stories are not the same, their stories are not the same. Their experiences are not the same. So they're all very unique. So I'm excited to hear from these guys tonight. So we are going to get started. We're going to hear from Yelka first. So Yelka is a hardworking family man who lives in Northern Alberta. He and his wife Yelly are from Holland, which is pretty cool. And they have three kids that are all Canadian raised. So I actually met Yelka and Yelly and their family through Young Living and through the Johnsons. We've gone to events together, and we've enjoyed getting to know their family over the years. So they're very, very kind people. And Yelka's very supportive of Yelly and her Young Living business. And Yelka's always up for events, travel, and adventure. So without further ado, Yelka, take it away.
Thanks. Thanks so much for the introduction. Yeah, exactly. Just like Rebecca said, like we been with Young Living probably 3 years. Met great people like the Johnsons and Rebecca, Jonathan, and Joe Mark, Melissa, and many, many more. It's been a great adventure so far, and I'm hoping this is gonna last for much longer. So yeah, Yali started this about 3 years ago. I think it's about 3 years ago, and never heard nothing about Young Living. She came home one day with the starter kit and didn't even know she bought it, but she came home with it, and I'm like, oh, just some nice smells into the house. So she just told me like, hey, it's a diffuser with starter kit oils, and I'm like, oh, it smells great, honey. And so basically got it going, didn't even ask how much it was. So just happy that she started that, and she didn't even start the business too much. It was just more like, I think Hannah promoted it online, and she kind of bought it and didn't even set up her account right away, I think. But anyway, started getting in more and more into it, and I wasn't too interested in the beginning. Like I just kind of left her do her thing, and she seemed interested, and she's interested in it. I just support her in that, and just I think after a little while, she became more interested and wanted to do the business. I think it actually was when she visited the farm in Fort Nelson. I was supposed to go too. I didn't make it, but that's when she was like, that was her aha moment. So she went there, and she came back, and she was like, this is what we need to do. Like, this is so good for everybody. It's good for your health. Like we can change people. And if everybody knows Yelly, she's pretty quiet and usually just does things what I want to do, because like I usually take the reins at home. But anyway, she came with that idea, and I'm like, well, that's great, honey. Like I support you. Like we should do that. And that's kind of when I got a little bit more involved and started to be like look more into the Young Living products. And actually, what the biggest turnaround for me was actually when I was like, yeah, this is such an amazing product. And it's when our little boy, he's 9 now. He's had asthma since he was 2 years old, and we just struggled with him for a long time. Basically, got him to the hospital every 2 or 3 months, I think. A few times he had croup, woke up in the middle of the night, hard time to breathe. So we brought him into the hospital a few times, just put him on steroids, brought it down, go back home, but nothing will change. So we did it a few times. basically just a Band-Aid on it and send it back home, right? They never found an answer for that problem. So got him on a puffer 3-4 times a day. And then Yelly came with the RC. So she made him a little roller blend, put it in his pocket. He went to school and just put his RC on whenever he thought he needed it. And like my biggest surprise was after about 2 or 3 months, he stopped using his inhaler and kept using the RC. And I think it's been 2 years now, maybe a year and a half, that he hasn't used his asthma pump anymore. He's just been completely off his asthma pump. We still have it just in case if anything happens, but hasn't had any issues since. Even last year when we had like that heavy smoke around Alberta with all the fires, there was no issues for my little man there. So that was my biggest moment where I was like, holy man, this is a big change. Like I'm sold. So that was like a big turnaround in our Young Living story there for sure. Plus, what I like about Young Living is, like you said, like I'll go to the events, I'll travel. I'm a travel guy. I like to travel. Been to the Vancouver convention. That was the first big one I went to, and met great people. And it's just like the whole family. Like it's just a great community. Like it's not just a product. It's everything around Young Living. And I would say like the only thing that I regret looking back is that I wasn't more interested right in the beginning when Yelly was interested. Like she started this and I was like, sure, that's your thing. Like do what you want to do. I support you. But I should have been more interested right away and like look deeper into the Young Living. And even though I did now and I know more about Young Living, I should have been like right there, and maybe there would have been a bigger jumpstart for her into the business. But so that's the only thing I probably want to change. I am a pretty supportive husband, so there's not a lot of things I would change. But that's probably the only thing I'd be like, yeah, I probably should have looked more into it right away and be like more on top of that with her and be more supportive a little bit more even than I already was. But yeah, I would advise most husbands that are watching, like, don't second guess them. Like, just be supportive. I know it can be challenging, but that's for husbands too with wives. Like, husbands got an idea, and you want your wife to be supportive. It's the same for everybody, right? So this is a great business. It's great products. It's not a pyramid scheme like everybody says. Like I run my own construction business. That can be a pyramid scheme too. Like I'll be the owner and I'll probably be the only owner till my boys take over. So like I got my employees and I got my supervisors. Like that's, if you look at it, the same thing as a pyramid scheme, right? I mean, you work yourself up, but you'll never be the owner. With Young Living, I like it. Like you can work your way up. Like if you're a star, you can become like a diamond in no time. And then the people that were above you, silvers, could still be silvers. So it's up to you to work yourself up. So I mean, it's a great business. I love the structure of it. The payouts are great. Plus, the products are amazing. You want to have it anyway. And yeah, that's my take on Young Living for sure. It's chemical free. Like it can't hurt you. It's good for pets, kids, whatever. So that's my take on Young Living. Yeah.
Awesome. I guess I'm next.
Yeah. So I guess I'm supposed to introduce him. Anyway, this handsome fella next to me, they call him the Iceman. He not skinny dips, but he dips in the river in the wintertime. But yeah, this is a great friend, John Mark. Known him probably for 8-9 years now.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it's
been a while. Way before Young Living, I knew John Mark. The first one of Johnson Earl family that I knew. So yeah, I've been done a little bit of work with him. He's also in the construction business, so that's how I know him. But this is John Mark Earl, and take it away, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you. It's great to see so many familiar faces on there. Good to see you, Bruce and Esther. I've not seen you in a long time. Always good to see you. Like Yalka, I've been a part of Young Living for just about 3 years, I think. And we started off, Melissa was pregnant with Aria at the time, so I guess it has been 3 years. She'll turn 3 next month. And she had been so sick, and Hannah had sent me a message that she wanted to basically try some oils on Melissa and wanted to know if we would be interested. So our introduction was that Hannah brought some oils over, used them on Melissa. She started to feel better almost right away, and within a few days was back on her feet. And um, and I think that the quick transition that we had, or the quick evidence we saw of improvement in Melissa, really solidified for us that, you know, there is something to these essential oils. And I remember before getting involved with Young Living, I had another friend who had Young Living oils and had just said, "Hey, you should try these out." And I was like, "No, I'm going to use those." And I don't know, like, something that has fascinated me is this idea that once your mind changes about something, it's pretty hard to go back and remember exactly what your thoughts were at that time. But I remember, or like prior, I remember being so against essential oils. Like, there's a lot of negative information about them, and for the life of me, I cannot remember why, any of the reasons why I didn't like them. But anyway, after we got involved, pretty quickly, we started to realize that not only did Young Living have great products, like we started with essential oils, and we moved to some of their supplements, the Ningxia Red, their cleaning products. And I think that with Young Living, there's a lot that they have to offer. Um, they have products that improve your health, your wellness, but it's the whole range of improvement that you add to your life by starting to use the products. We use, like, the cleaning, their thieves cleaner, the dish soap, the laundry soap, and I feel like it's so hard to sum up exactly how I feel, because I feel good about a lot of it. And when I'm now around, like, I'm doing some work right now at one of the local schools, and was just in the janitor's room, and it's full of the cleaners in there are so, like, just the smells are so powerful. And I needed to use some just to get rid of, you know, some mess that I had in a bucket. And I couldn't believe how much I'd taken for granted just enjoying cleaning, using the thieves cleaner or spraying it, then knowing that nothing in it is harmful for us. And so that's one thing. I feel like I have, the longer we've been a part of Young Living, just this developed appreciation for what the company itself stands for. And I've gone through periods where I am really in favor of Young Living, and then other times where I'm a little more skeptical, and then I come back to appreciating it fully. And one of the things that really sold me, I guess, is the Young Living Foundation. And they do so much work all over the world. And this year, the service trips that they had planned got canceled because of the travel restrictions. But Yelk and I both had applied to be on, like, part of the service trip, one of the ones in overseas. And I think Yelly and Francis were going to go be part of Hope for Justice. And Melissa and I also have sponsored a little boy from South America, and he's a little boy that had cleft lip and palate, just like Jeremiah and Elisha had. And Melissa and I had talked for years about wanting to give back to, especially little kids that are affected with cleft related issues, because that's been a big thing, you know, that we've dealt with. And so the big reach that Young Living has in so many different arenas, where they're influencing, you know, in each home that has Young Living, they're making change, but they're also looking for ways that they can make change in the world. it's just one more factor that has really solidified for me how valuable and how important it is to be a part of that like Young Living organization. And what Yelka had kind of talked about with the idea that this network marketing company, it's a pyramid scheme, which I'd say is probably one of the most common criticisms of network marketing. People are like, oh yeah, well, that's just a pyramid scheme. And what he said is right. Any business, the higher up the chain you go, the fewer the number of people are. Like Yelka's right at the top. He's right at the top of his pyramid in his business. And that's the way it works with any business. And with Young Living, although the products are, one of the things that sets it apart, it's a company that when you're making purchases from, that the money is going to make the world better. And that's something that really is the heartwarming part, I guess, of Young Living. And as far as the effectiveness of essential oils, like all of the benefits that, that are promoted, I think that I haven't seen all of the things that I've hoped from or for by using the oils, but I do know that some of them work very well for me. And RC is one that works. I'd say that was the first oil that I used that I noticed a big difference in how easily I could, how much more easily I could breathe. Melissa said that as soon as I started using it, I was snoring less, which made her an advocate for it as well. So I'd say there are definitely some oils that are my favorite. I love the tree oils. And I had the opportunity, like Yelly, to go to the Northern Lights Black Spruce Farm in Fort Nelson, and just to see the whole process of harvesting the trees, distilling the oil, and then getting to take some home too. And it's like every time that I am exposed to a different part of Young Living, I appreciate it. And the people that were working in those facilities were so kind, so giving, and they care so much about their work and the products. And that's something that's contagious. And I have been able to go to 2 farms. I went to the one in the Idaho Blue Spruce and their balsam fir farm there, and then also the that black spruce one. And while I was there, and you're completely immersed in the whole culture, and like Yalko was talking about going to events, it's like when you're around the Young Living community, you're around people who are caring about their health, they care about others, and they're looking for ways to give back. And it's a community that makes you want to be better and to do more. And I just have felt so much more hope for being a part of Young Living. And there's a lot of aspects of being involved in a network marketing company that maybe are difficult when you're trying to engage in business type relationships with people who have been your friends or your family. And there are sometimes people's feelings get hurt, or things don't go the way that you expected, or maybe you hoped that you'd be further along in your business by certain milestones or periods of time. And I think that in any business endeavor, not everything is always bright sun shining. You face disappointments, people who you thought might be interested, or want to know more about the wonderful thing that you've discovered didn't. And so I think that there are situations that, can be uncomfortable, because when you have found something that you love, something that you're passionate about, and you're sharing that with other people, it is disappointing when, not everyone gets on board, or, but I've been apart for 3 years, or almost 3 years. And most of that time, although I have gone to a few events and, to the farms, I've had the attitude where I have kind of put it on Melissa. It's like, yeah, I love this. I love the idea of it, but I'm going to let you do it, Melissa. And I'll support you, but, it's not really my thing. And recently I feel like there's been a shift that's happened with me, where I feel like, I care about this. This is an opportunity for me too. And I don't need to just sit on the sidelines. I can get more involved. And Jelke was saying, he wished that maybe he had gotten a little deeper at the beginning. I feel like that's something for me, that if I could go back and make a change, it would be that I got more involved with actively pursuing the business side right from the beginning. Although Melissa has appreciated me just being supportive on the side, I know that she appreciates even more when I'm involved. And that's something that I'm starting to want to do more of. And I guess the last thing that I'd like to say is that what keeps me going, or the idea, is that if you just don't give up, if you just don't quit, if you just keep at it, you're going to see the things that you're hoping for. And with Young Living, I'll just parrot what Jelke said again, that it's such a unique opportunity that you can get out exactly what you put in. And if you give a lot, you get rewarded a lot. And if you don't put in a lot, you don't see the same rewards. But just because you are starting now doesn't mean that you're at a disadvantage. It just means that you're just starting now. And it's such an empowering idea that you can take a little bit of control over your health, over improving your finances, and giving back. So I just say, get involved and don't quit. And that pretty much sums up my approach, I guess. So thank you for listening. I'm pretty sure I went over my time. I'm going to pass the baton off to Jonathan, my brother-in-law. So thanks.
Well, I think I'm on mute now. Thumbs up from somebody who can hear me. It'd be huge. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. I'm not sure if there's a time at the end for question and answering, so I'll ask the question now to Jelke. Are you toting the new makeup line on that one eye? That new eyeliner that I see from Young Living? I'm sure there's a story on that. Jelke can get to the story, I guess, at the end of this.
Yeah, so I actually declined Jelle's makeup order yesterday. And that's like, shit, now you need it. So, no, actually, there's a little accident on the farm yesterday. It's all good. Just a little strap in my face, so we're good. Eye is good, so we're all good.
I knew you wouldn't be embarrassed by it. So Rebecca is my wife, and we've been involved with Young Living for 10 years. And by we, I mean a real slow start. 10 years ago, she got a starter kit, as most relationship with Young Living goes. And it was just a product, one of the products in our house that we used for a number of years, actually. I believe that everyone needs that one thing that actually gets them to have their own relationship or their own belief, their own understanding of it, where it's not just something you've read about or heard about, but it's yours now. It's something you can own when you say, yeah, I know that product and I use it. But everyone needs that one thing. And I didn't find it myself until many years in, 6 or 7 years of using it. It always was just another product, really. It was one of the cleaners in the house, for example. It was one of the remedies you go to, along with pills and what other medicine I'd use. That was just one of them. But to get to my one thing that I needed for myself, I had the opportunity, so I'm in the military, I had the opportunity to go over to Africa, a very small village there, where there's a lot of sickness, a lot of malnutrition, a lot of sickness, and illness all around me. While I was there, one gentleman, he passed from malaria. Another person got sent back to his country from, we didn't know what he had. It was just something devastating for his well-being. And even the person who replaced me, he himself, he explained to me, I saw him afterwards, he said he was sick every day he was there. And I think it was typhoid he got 3 times while he was there. But for myself, Rebecca brought me lovingly. She gave me a brand new starter kit. And so every night I'd be diffusing oils in there. I'd use them as I knew, because my kit came with these little paper pamphlets that said, explain what to use each oil for. And that's basically all I knew them for to be. Now, there's a handful of reasons why I didn't get sick there, but that was definitely one of them. But again, that wasn't my one thing. See, when I got back, I wanted some spare time. I wanted hobby time, me time, wrenching time, auto mechanic stuff, woodworking stuff, hanging out with guy friends stuff. And I wanted my wife to actually have a hobby, something to do, a community, friends, outside of me. I'm sure getting back after deployment, she wanted, us time, which I wanted too. But of course, it's always nice to have a little bit, if you can squirrel away 2 or 3 hours a week for you time, it's fantastic. And that was my goal. Yes, how about you start getting involved more with the business? At the same time, she wanted to get more involved with the business. So the two interests married up beautifully. But I got to tell you, it was a lie. It's not 2 or 3 hours a week this takes. If you want to do this business, you should treat it like a business. 2 or 3 hours a week is kind of fun. That's where you make friends and you find community, and you start feeling like you're starting to know and have some understanding of what you're doing. And that's the fun part. If you're going to get into the business part, it does take time, and people should be prepared for the knowledge that this can take time. One of the courses that actually Rebecca brought me through, it talks about business. And with that business, we started discussing, it was always kind of interest of ours, of having a food truck, interestingly enough, kind of like a Beaver Tails or whatever. Name your food you want to sell at a food truck. So we started looking into it, and it was a little over $100,000 to get the brand and the truck and the supplies. And so then we start talking about business, and where are we at with this business? Are we ready for that investment? And you start considering the fact that there's usually significant investment to get started. Even if you're going to get into a scholastic or a think-related, a mind information-related job or business, there's a lot of investment into yourself going to college or university that you have to do in order to get that. Incurring debts, investing yourself in that way. But that's a different way that you start your entrepreneurial walk or your business walk, your professional walk. So for that, Rebecca and I were talking about what we're actually interested in investing in. At the same time, she starts going to these courses for professional development, personal development, get involved with a lot more community. It was very interesting. But none of this, again, was my thing. This was all just kind of living and growing. My thing was my back. I had probably, I'll say it's a bad back, or I had a bad back for about 15 years. Now, when I say a bad back, it only go maybe 2 to 3 times a year. People are like, oh, that's nothing. My back hurts all the time. So my back would go out and be out for about 4 to 6 weeks. The first week or two, I would breathe only enough to get air in needed. No more shoulder checks in the car, no more turning the neck. It was shoulders. Everything would rotate as one unit. No more picking up, no more sports. If that month ended up being the center of winter, then you miss whatever winter sport you're doing. So for me, it was huge. It became part of my identity. I just knew myself as, if my back is out, I've got about a month at least to go. And so with that, Rebecca started believing enough in the oils to say she wants to actually have, to use some of the oils. There's a raindrop technique that is some, in my opinion, and it's still my opinion, they're not inexpensive, but they're highly valuable. So I was at the point where she'd apply these and I'd count each drip. Well, that drip was 12 cents. You get 4 drips of the same thing on my back. That was like at least 50 cents worth of, oh my dear, what are you doing to me? And then I couldn't believe it. In time, she would ask me about my back, and I'd realized I no longer had the back pains. It was like a season of my life kind of went in my past. And at this point, yeah, my back is not perfect. Every once in a while, I'll do something I shouldn't have done, but not in the odd way that my back was out before. Now I just have a normal person's back, in my opinion, that carries me around, and sometimes I lift too hard. But other than that, I'm amazed with myself. And that was my one thing. That was my thing to say, wait a minute, something is up with this. So we started going to rallies. We went to one particular rally. And at that rally, the amount of doctors that spoke surprised me, really surprised me. I guess there's always a concern that you're getting involved with a fad or something that is seasonal. It's come now, it's up in front now, it's a big deal, and then tomorrow somebody will jump on something else. It'll be something else going on. But with this number of doctors who stood up and said, this is actually demonstratively proven, to the degree they'll scan your brain while you're inhaling oil, simply inhaling them, not even topically ingesting, just simply inhaling oils, and they'll scan your brain and watch in the scan within seconds your brain changing. It's amazing. It was, so for that, I enjoyed my own growth, my own time in rallies that I'd be going to, and seeing the replacement of value and understanding more of the actual, I don't want to say science, because nowadays science is so kind of a two-edged, double-edged word on that one. Just seems like yesterday we thought the world was flat. And so now, whether it be science or just demonstrative capability of these oils, with that, I saw Rebecca change. I saw Rebecca grow into this confident. Now, was it business that she's now running a business that changed her? Was it the books and the studying that the seminar she was going to, or was it just the oils themselves that she was using that was changing her? I can't say it was any one necessarily over the other, but I love the change. I love who is she and who she's becoming and growing with me through this. But I want to say I've always supported my wife in things that she does, but I didn't know how much that was tailored or paralleled with the amount of investment it required, how much money it would need. And so as she first started off and said, I want to spend X amount, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. I don't really know how much we spend on washing, stuff or cleaning stuff or makeup or how much we spend on things. So sure, I guess that sounds reasonable. And then as we started getting more involved with it, a very good friend of mine, I love him very much. He has a hobby, a surprisingly expensive hobby, to the degree I've always wondered how or why he would actually have that hobby. It might be envy. I probably would enjoy his hobby, but I could never spend that much. And it was interesting when his wife said, I want to spend a little bit on oils this month. And it blew my mind that he said no. I was thinking, how much does your wife support you in everything you do, every hobby you have, everything you want to do and spend a little bit of money on? And yet she comes up with something where she will actually be helping your family and the health of all of you. And this is now a big deal. And there's a problem with the purse strings at this point. So that blew my mind. And with that, and considering business and what the value of investing into a business is, Rebecca and I have more recently, within the last couple of years, a lot of the influence from actually Hannah, who has actually gotten involved. Her always being supported by Wade. They've gotten involved with the business earlier than Rebecca and I have. So I guess the last probably 2.5 years, we've been getting more in the business side of it, really enjoying that portion of it, really acknowledging the generosity of Young Living, the income disclosure. Some people should be aware of, and they should see this is, I didn't know what an MLM was, a multi-level marketing was, when I first started off. And now I'm more aware of them, and I'm actually more aware of how generous Young Living is as far as anything goes as far as multi-level marketing. With that, right, I'll confide, we've all been talking now for about, 35 minutes, so we're pretty close. I think I can share something with you. I think in about 3 years, right, probably know, 4 years, I'll be looking to make some big decisions career-wise. At the same point, I believe Rebecca's business will be at a point where we'll have some big decisions to make. So with that, my mind races forward, and I'm already feeling concern, interestingly enough, because part of my identity is wrapped in being a provider for the family. So as soon as I start thinking, well, soon I won't be the provider, will I still be valued in the family? It's an interesting dilemma that my mind is subconsciously and unconsciously working through to figure out, well, who am I now? Like, Jean Valjean, kind of, who am I? It's interesting because 3 years from now, it's exciting. I love the way the business is growing. I love the way there's potential now. There's no ceilings, no glass ceiling. There's no every year I know I'll make it 1.25% more because of the cost of living increase. It's all very exciting, and yet there's that inside of me that says, that'll be an interesting time when we have to make a big decision because Rebecca will be making more than me. So with that, it was brought up about favorite oils. Right now, there's a couple of oils you can take for your pineal gland. Pineal gland is that little P-shaped gland inside your head. You got, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, and if I'm not meaning to say anything other than that gland. But with that, it's not really known exactly what it does. If you haven't heard of it before, look it up and look up what oils can work on it, because it's something really exciting and neat to actually take some oils for a concept with regards to movement and science and growth and where we're at with getting healthy. Something I love about Young Living is that it's like they took the foundational health, reworked it and mastered it, and brought it back into our health regime right now. The oils of plants, how foundational is that? And so the more we dig into it, it's actually the more revelatory it becomes on how to live healthy. And so this is something that the more you learn about it, the more we're realizing that we don't know. And it's so exciting to watch this business grow and reveal. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce Wade. So Wade, he lives up in northern Alberta, Boomsticks, and interestingly enough, a handful of people on this call right now are all in the same house or community or area. They probably hear themselves screaming, which I love. I'd love to give every one of them a hug. It's been way too long since we've seen them. The Wade's the principal of the school up there. I think he's always been supportive of Hannah's business. And in fact, I think Wade did Wade buy the first one? He'll tell you that in a second. The two of them raised 5 kids. They're up in Peace River. And truthfully, Wade he's a smart man. He's an influential man. And I love the man. So Wade, over to you.
Thank you, Jonathan. That's far too kind of a introduction. I've been just listening to the different stories that everyone shared between Yelka, John Mark, and Jonathan, and my story keeps evolving because I don't want to repeat what they've said because I agree with every aspect of it and how each person has a different journey as part of this. But the way we got into Young Living originally was there was a staff member at my school that had Young Living, had oils, and Hannah and I, we liked the smell. We've seen the stores in the mall. We'd walk down, and one of my teachers, I said, hey, can I buy a kit from you? I think Hannah would like the smell. That's all it was at the beginning. This would be nice. I was going to just bring it home and surprise Hannah. And so I bring this kit home, and what I didn't realize is that Hannah had already been researching different things that maybe she wanted to do. Like she was a stay-at-home mom, and I think was looking for more purpose. And here I literally put an opportunity on her lap and had no idea. So I just like the smells. And so Hannah starts researching it. She's listening to videos and she's going down the road of just finding out more information. Like she was already looking for something she could do from home. And what ended up happening with Young Living, this was one of the ones that actually was at the forefront of her interest. And when she brought it up and she said, there's actually a business part of this where you could, actually make money at this. And but she first started telling me about the products. And I am not a natural path type person. I was the person, I'd get my balance sheets and I would get whatever the most effective cleaning supply was out there that 99.9% kill everything. And Hannah wanted to take our family down a different direction. And when I think back on this, she took the lead. And as a husband, I decided, this is giving her something to focus on. And similar to what Jonathan had said, I said, well, hey, if you're going to go do this, that gives me an opportunity to go, maybe I could go do this. So she supports me in my adventures, and as a principal of a school, and then as a, I coach, we're busy with our kids, and she was going down this road with Young Living. And I, as a husband, the biggest thing is I just wanted to support her. She was passionate about it. And what really started to catch my eye in the early stages was it's about personal growth and about being a better person. And so as these products come forward, honestly, a lot of time I'd give Hannah a lot of your time, and she'd be telling me stuff, and many times it would go in this year. And then if she asked me 30 minutes later, I might have remembered some of it, but I just want to support her. And as we went through it, there was a few times where she would say, okay, well, we're going to try this oil with you. And I could feel its effect, but I didn't know if it was like a placebo, where, well, she told me it will do this, therefore it did it. And it wasn't until I saw the effectiveness on our kids. That's when it really hit home for me, because we had there's a couple different stories I want to share. One was that Abby had a sore stomach, and she's in bed. She's not feeling well. Hannah was having a team meeting that night. She had some other ladies over, and they were downstairs. So my job was to watch the kids. So I'm thinking, you know what, this is going to be great. I'll be able to get them to bed early. I'm going to get some me time. And but Abby is literally curled up, and I'm thinking I immediately want to go to get the children's Advil, the children's Tylenol. Like, I figured that's the way I've been trained. Well, Hannah gets, I believe it was Digest at the time, and she put some stuff on her stomach, and I'm thinking, I'm just waiting because we were out of the other typical products, and I was going to run up to the store because I was going to fix this, because then when she takes that, she's going to fall asleep, which then frees me up for the rest of the evening while Hannah's visiting downstairs. So definitely the wrong approach, but literally within 10 minutes, all of a sudden, Abby sits up. She's fine. Her stomach ache's gone. And I'm looking at this thinking, this can't be happening. Like, this is where I took that step to say, this works. This makes it different. Like, I didn't have to go get this artificial synthetic product to give to my 6-year-old at the time. And here's just a natural product that helped. And then another time we had Carly, who was 2 years old. I'm thinking, okay, we bring her into our bed. We're trying to get her to stop. Hannah literally puts pine in her hand and just holds it near her nose. Like, she wouldn't stop coughing. Like, I was thinking, okay, we're going to have to take her again. Me going to jump over to the Tylenol. Let's go get her something for this cough for a 2-year-old. And put pine on her chest and in her hand. Within a couple of minutes, she stops coughing. And it's amazing how fast this stuff happens. When I see the effect on kids who don't have that same placebo effect, where it's just pure natural reaction, that's where it got me to really, start believing more in the products. And what I really appreciate about Young Living is they don't just stop. They're not relying on their laurels. They're like, hey, we have these good line of just essential oils. These are great. This is all you need. They keep looking to not only improve, but expand. So like, two of my current favorite products would be Ningxia, and anything that says thieves, whether it's thieves cleaning, thieves mouthwash, thieves toothpaste. I haven't had a cold in probably 2 years. And usually when I start to get that itchy throat, first time Hannah poured pure thieves down my throat, oh my goodness, that is...
Did you put it in your eye, Wade?
Yes, she did.
I put cedarwood in the
No, cedarwood. Yeah, she was going to... Yeah, don't put it in your eyes. That's something to learn from this. And if she does, make sure you have some oil. We're camping, and Hannah's gonna. Why did it?
Because you're going to bed. I was just putting it on your face.
Yeah, so she put it right in my eye. It hurts. Okay, throat good, eyes bad. There's the second lesson for you tonight. What I found, like with the Thieves product, like we've gotten rid of all the toxins in our house in the sense of all of our cleaning supplies. It's whether it's the Thieves do everything from the windows to the floors to everything. I love the smell of it. And if you know the story behind Thieves and why it's called that, like, this is an oil that's been around for hundreds of thousands of years. Like during the can I share the story? Hundreds of years. But in terms of during the plague, that's when actual people would be holding thieves, like they would be going to take stuff from people who had passed away from the plague, and they would hold it on their nose. And that's where the name actually came from, was these people who used it to protect themselves from the plague. And so it's protected me from quite a few colds. And then the Ningxia products, what I find with that is that the Ningxia itself, I don't notice it when I'm taking it, but when I don't have it, I feel sluggish. Like it's not like something you would take like a coffee, it like gives you a big rush. But I find with the Ningxia is that I take it every morning. I get a water bottle. It goes with me for the day. As I drink it, it just kind of, it keeps me on an even keel. But when we run out, then I find it's like I'm missing my coffee. It's missing that energy and things like that. So those are kind of the two main products. One of the most coolest experiences that I had was actually going to the Northern Lights Black Spruce Farm with John Mark and Yelly and Hannah and our crew, and to be actually part of the process. Because the biggest thing I find with Young Living is that the whole seed to seal and how that process goes. And so when we were there, I had an opportunity also to take a look at this book. I don't know if you can see it there. This is the Gary Young story. And so it actually talks about his journey and how he became involved, how he basically created his essential oils. He was a logger in northern BC in the 70s and had a serious accident, and what he went through and how he took it every step of the way. So if you ever get a chance to take a look at this book, it just gives you that understanding. And I feel that with Young Living, that's why it is so successful, is that it's about how the care and quality that's put into the products. It's what it is and how it affects like us as a family. Like this is in every part of our house. Like this is something that we are passionate about, and it's not something that you have to go into the business side. A lot of people who get like a Young Living account, it's just because they like what it has to offer. And then if you are motivated and this is a road you want to go down, the opportunities to then say, well, this is a product that we use in our family. We are replacing stuff we buy at the store. But then you start using it, and then, okay, well, now I can start getting to know people about it. And some great people we've met over the years have really come on this journey with us, because you start from the same base point where you are all looking for something that's a bit more natural and the effect it can make on your house, since you already have that connection. And then when you start going to the events, and as a husband, go to the events. If you can go somewhere, if you can go to a rally, support your wife, be there. Like Hannah's running with a business. I'm not as involved. Like I've got my job, my career, but the more I can learn about it and the more that I can understand it, so that there's an opportunity like this where I can share it, I can be supportive. So let's, as a husband, as a supporter, support your wife through this. And if any wives are watching this and their husband isn't sure, I'd love to have a conversation with them. Okay, this is my experience. This is where we're at. Like I feel like our relationship has grown. We're better as husband and wife. We're better as parents, because we're both about trying to improve ourselves. And that's a big thing I find with everything related to this journey, is that we become, I feel, better people out of it. So I believe that answered most of the questions. And I've kind of jumped all over the place. I didn't kind of go in order. I have a hard time being told which order I need to go in. So I kind of roll back with it. So I'm just loving where we're at, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to share that with people. And I'd love to chat more with others.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm supposed to close this out. So, by Young Living, that I just want everybody else to feel that same way. And so I really appreciate everybody being on this call and listening to these guys and hearing their stories. I actually just want to open this up if people have questions for them, or... Oh, okay. Wade already wants to answer one.
So, daily products. I literally start out the day with Northern Black Spruce. I use almost like a cologne. I use the Shootron, the lotion. So I start the day with that. We use the Thieves toothpaste, Thieves mouthwash. If you haven't tried Thieves mouthwash, that stuff's amazing. Then before we leave the house, we've got our Ningxia and go through that. So then at night we're diffusing in all the kids' rooms. They have a diffuser in each one, depending what they need. If they're feeling a little bit off, or then maybe they're getting RC, or they're getting cedar wood, or so there's so with different oils in there. So it's kind of mix it up there. So I have used quite a bit every day.
And paint green.
And paint Cool Azul. Oh my goodness. I roofed the last couple of days and I needed a whole lot of Cool Azul on my muscles. It's like, what is it? You take A535 and what's the other one that's really good?
Tachypon?
No, it's another one. Anyways.
Oh, Voltaren.
Voltaren. Take Voltaren and A535, put them together, and then make it better. And then you get Cool Azul. The stuff's amazing.
I don't know if anybody else wants to answer that question, if they use different things.
Yeah,
than
I'll
Wade.
answer that question.
Wade kind of took
The
all
initial
of
sulfurzyme, I have that and the little orange pill, which is the Super B, and the green pill, which is
Multi-greens.
multi-greens. But for myself, I mentioned before the pineal gland, so kind of like the inside, the brain kind of development stuff. So right now I'm actually learning French. That's my job, to learn French. And so I'm using some sandalwood to help with that. And the frankincense and 3 wise men. And there's another one. I forget. I need more sandalwood, but I forget what the third one is. So it's frankincense and 3 wise men that I'll take primarily for the pineal gland. And that's just kind of fun. I'm also a hobbyist, see what happens, kind of deal with it. Because I don't like the idea of a placebo effect. I don't want to say, well, now I'm going to have this better with this. So I like looking up and figuring out what I would like to take and just see what happens with it. Shutron is something I love the smell of it. And I've only ever found actually one pair of people that didn't like the smell of Shutron. And so I wonder what that means, what kind of, I didn't pry too deep into that, but I do love the smell of Shutron, so I will wear that regularly myself. John and Yelka?
Yeah, the product I would like to add is for guys that actually do workout a lot, is Amino Ice. I take it every time. Actually, I mix it with water during my workout, and it's the recovery time just cuts in half. Like your recovery after is so much faster and keeps your energy levels up after. You don't get that slam in your head like, oh, now I'm done. Like, no, you keep your energy levels up. It's a really good product.
Awesome. I love all the tree oils. So black spruce, blue spruce, fir, pine. I like a little bit less, but I'd still use it if I use it all the time. Amino wise is in answer to that question is one that I have started using too. But RC for me is still one of my favorites. It's almost like I feel like there's so much, just the smell of it I love. I feel so great when I use it. That's one that I use on a regular basis. Valor I love. I don't think there's very many oils that I don't like. And I forget what the word is, but there's a specific label on essential oils that basically, because of their makeup, they're good for more than one thing. And so I'll use any essential oil that's around. But like Wade and Yelka said, like we use the Thieves toothpaste. I use the Shutron products as well. But tree oils and RC, I think, are and Valor. Tree oils, Valor, and RC. I love them.
And I think one more product actually is just came out is like the drops, the Vitality drops. I was a person that I don't drink water. Like if I'm thirsty, I will, but like I don't drink my 3 to 4 liters a day. I just never did. Now with the Vitality drops, I do. Like it's just the electrolytes in them are amazing, and just the flavors of them. Like the lavender one is my favorite one, and we go through a lot. Like I fill my water bottles with that every time. It just makes it so much easier to drink water.
Sweet.
I don't know if anybody else has any other questions or if we should just visit for a hot sec. Or if Wade wants to talk about anything else.
I would love to know if Andrew and Bruce have any products that they love to use that. Bruce does as well.
Can you hear me?
You can.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. This is a beautiful screen. I see two gorgeous young men there. My goodness. And John Mark, he's like a third son to me. Hi, folks. Yeah, I'm Senior McCormick. And Jonathan mentioned something. I use it for joints. I'm 69, and yeah, that's right. And the sulfurzyme, yeah, it's easy on my joints, my knee joints, my hip joints, and there's a big difference when I use it, and that's why I consistently use it. So I can relate to all the things that has been said so far, but you know, since Hannah mentioned something outstanding, when Jonathan was speaking, I use that stuff too, and it's good. So,
Good.
What
I
about
use
you?
one too. It's great.
What about you, Andrew?
There we go. I just had to find out how to unmute. Oils that I would use. I use tea tree oil a lot, just for infections, any like scrapes, abrasions, anything like that. We use that quite a bit. We've used that for like different rashes that the kids have had, and that's worked really well. And the kids have had some kind of funny viral things on their skin, and we found that the tea tree oil mixed with, I think it was apple cider vinegar. It was a weird concoction, but anyway, it worked. I used to really enjoy drinking the black spruce in fizzy water, and then Hannah told me about a year ago to not do that anymore because it's not for internal use, which made me sad because I really enjoyed it. It tasted like gin. I like lavender. We use that quite a bit. I just started like, I mean like last night. I put that on Holly because she has a hard time sleeping, and it worked quite well. So I should use a lot more. Look it up on my dresser. We have RC and generally thieves too. And so working in an emergency room, you know, I pick up stuff all the time, or I know if I've just been around with a lot of people with a lot of respiratory things, I'll throw in some thieves or RC as I go to sleep, and I find I hardly ever get sick. And if I do, you know, it's like a day or two ordeal, then it's done. Or I'll spike a fever, burn it off, and then I never actually get sick. So I'm exposed to a lot at work, and I actually haven't been sick in probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. So
Awesome.
yeah, and I'm excited. I got some cinnamon oil. I want to use that for strep throat, so I'm just getting excited to get strep throat so I can use it. But but you know, until then, I just like to put cinnamon like in drinks sometimes too. It's nice. Make some cinnamon milk or cinnamon tea or something. Hannah, can I eat that? That's okay to eat, isn't it? Yeah, I think that's about it. It's I'm excited. I was excited to hear about Yelka's kid who had croup and asthma, and then the RC really helping, because throughout the winter we see so many kids with croup, and a lot of time you just see, you know, you kind of see the same kid or the same families back over and over again, and they know the routine and they know the steroids and the puffers and the when we used to use nebulizers. So it'd be nice to maybe give them some under the table information and triage and say,
Yeah.
legally, I'm not allowed to recommend this, but you should try
That's
some
right.
RC.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I love this. I love hearing, you know, what everybody likes to use, what works, what different testimonies people have had in their homes. And so thank you guys so much for sharing. I'm sure many people will watch this and rewatch it and share it. And so lots of people will benefit from your stories and what you guys shared tonight.